For those of you who don't know me, you can see on the screen, my name is Ashley Brackett. I am one of the transfer counselors in the University Transfer Center at Allen Hancock College. So if you have any questions after this, you can always come into the Transfer Center and you can ask any of us in there any questions with the Cal State, and you're welcome to come into the center and work on your applications as you go through these next 2 months. So the application will give you access to all 22 campuses. I don't know if many of you know, but we used to have 23 campuses, and recently Maritime became Cal Poly. So they joined with Cal Poly SLO actually. So they're just like a satellite campus of Cal Poly SLO. So now we consider it only 22 campuses, but you can apply to all of those through the application. So you can see you have a wealth of options throughout the state of California. So like I mentioned, you can do all of them. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do all, but that would be pretty phenomenal. Through the one application, and I will get to the details on how you can do that. Super, super easy. So the application opened today at 6 a.m. and the application does have a fee. So $70 per application. However, there is a application fee waiver built into the application, which it will show you if you qualify, and if you do, then you will get 4 applications for free. And those of you applying to UC, if you end up at the UC workshop, we'll tell you that anyway, but you can get 4 free each. So you could have 4 UC and 4 CSU if you qualify. I saw somebody ask, can you attend an in-person workshop to finish the application? Absolutely. So you guys could get all the knowledge today, and then I think next week we have our next one on Monday or Tuesday in person. You're welcome to always come to the second hour. I mean, you can come listen again, but you don't need to. But you can always come to the second hour of a workshop and just come for that help, that drop-in help. And I'll talk about other ways that you can come in and get help. So first things first, we want to make sure you're eligible, right? So that would be the worst thing if you think you're ready to go and you're not. So the important steps to do to see if you're ready is to meet with a counselor to verify that you're eligible, CSU eligible, and of course eligible for your specific campus and major. You're here attending an application workshop. Complete, of course, that admission application. And then really important, step 4 is probably the most important step, I would say, is schedule that application review appointment with one of us. Any counselor can review your application. Of course, you're welcome to come see one of us in the transfer center. We will book up fast, so I recommend like maybe just having in your mind a deadline when you want to have it done. Let's say by November 1st or by November 15th, whatever it is. Go ahead, schedule that ahead of time so that you know you have that appointment booked and you can get in and get it reviewed. Because if all else fails, if you make any mistakes, as long as we review it, we're going to catch those mistakes for you. All applications need to be submitted by December 1st. There are some applications that have extended deadlines, but I would make December 1st your goal. However, we do strongly recommend that you submit that by mid-November. A, so it stresses off you. You don't have to think about it. B, you can enjoy Thanksgiving break, right? Those days that you have off. And C, at the end of the, without fail, every year when it gets closer to the deadline, the system starts to bog down. It gets slow. It crashes. Like, just don't put yourself in that stressful situation. And then really important to keep checking your email regularly. Stay in touch with us, the Transfer Center, because there will be follow-up next steps that you're going to want to pay attention to. Minimum requirements. So everybody who's trying to go in as what we call upper division transfer junior standing must meet this criteria here. Now, you could be in a situation where you're going as what we call lower division transfer. It's rare, although it's becoming more popular because a lot of campuses are taking that lower division, which is less than 60 units. But those of you going upper division, which most of you will be, must have a 2.0 GPA, transfer GPA, anything 100 level classes at Hancock, like PD 100, English C1000, right? Well, you know what? We're going to have to change that since we have our new terms, the C1000s. But anything 100 level and our new codes are all CSU transferable. You have to have 60 of those units by the end of spring, so they will not count next summer for admissions. At least 30 of those units need to be general education with a C or better, and you must complete what we call the Golden 4 with a C- or better. That's going to be your speech, your English, right? Your freshman composition, your critical thinking. Maybe you did another English or philosophy, or you will be, or argumentation and debate for some of you, and then a transfer level math. At minimum, you have to have this to go upper division. Those of you who might be going lower division, you can have less than the 60. You just have to have your, I want to say it's English and math done, or English and speech. I'd have to see. It depends on the campus, but they will look at your high school transcripts, and you must be A through G eligible from high school, meaning you are eligible to apply and get into a Cal State. I know that's rare, but any of you who are looking at lower division. Okay. Questions that you might want to ask yourself and a counselor is, will you be earning an associate degree for transfer? This can get really confusing because we have those liberal arts degrees that are transfer, right? They use the transfer general education, but those are not the same thing as this. The ADT, the AST, the AAT, however you've heard it, is the associate degree for transfer, and there are only specific majors that we even offer for these. So if you don't see your major listed when they ask for it on the Cal State application, means we don't have it, you're not getting it. There is this link, I'm not going to go there right now, but where you can, it's on our website. At the end, I'll try to get to our website and show you some of the resources where you can look at a matching website where you can say, okay, I'm getting an associate degree for transfer in psychology at Allen Hancock College, and I'm applying to Long Beach, Fullerton, and Fresno, for example. You can pick whatever CSUs you want. It's going to pull up a list for you of any of those campuses that accept, meaning they deem our degree, our associate degree, as similar. So that just means, great, you're going to get the benefits that come with the associate degree for transfer. If it is not on that list, and I'll get to the part where I'll show you there's like an error flag that will come up if you are applying to a campus that does not have an aligned degree. It doesn't mean you can't apply there. It just means you're not going to get the benefits that come with it. So you only want to report if you're getting one of these associate degree for transfers, if you truly are, because it's going to give you added benefits, and you don't want to confuse the campus, right, that you're applying to. And you don't want it to be a reason, like sometimes if you say you're getting it, they'll admit you because they're using that as part of your criteria. And if you're not getting it, then they may come back and say, well, we're going to take away, rescind your admissions. So that's rare. Don't be afraid of that. When we do your app review, we'll check and see, are you getting one? But you can go into your degree works and see if you're on track for any of these. You could do an audit or a what if. Have I completed necessary classes to be competitive? So I talked about minimum admissions, but are you applying into a campus or a major that's impacted, meaning more people are applying to that major or to that campus than they have space for? So maybe that campus has set higher standards. Maybe they set a higher GPA, or you have to have certain major classes done with a certain GPA. So you want to know, am I applying into a campus like that? And am I meeting all of that criteria? Do you have your lower division major requirements met, or will you by the end of spring? Are you going to be on track for that general ed, which is not a requirement for admissions, but it is nice to have it done. And remember, you have to have at least that golden 4 and 30 units of general ed. And then the biggest one, and this one can get really scary if you're borderline on those 60 units by the end of spring. Let's triple check the count, right? Are you going to have those 60 CSU transferable units? Because you don't want that to be the reason that your admissions gets rescinded. I have a question. So the question is, when transferring, can I attend the graduation ceremony? Transferring does not give you a degree. So if you're on track to earn one of our associate's degrees, whether it's that associate degree for transfer or any other one, a lot of our students will get those liberal arts degrees I was talking about. If you're on track to get any of those, yes, you can participate in the graduation ceremony. If not, you can transfer without an associate's degree. You just won't be in our ceremony, but we will have a transfer celebration that I'll talk a little bit about. A good question. Okay. Make sure I didn't miss any other questions. No. Okay, so there's also a link that I can show you when we get to the Transfer Center website to see who's impacted, who's not, by what major. If you've been working with a counselor, they've already set you up to make sure that you're competitive, for any impacted school. Whoops. Okay, ready? If you think you meet admissions, we're going to get started on looking at the application. So like I said, October 1st through December 1st. Again, it could get extended for some campuses, which you can see when we get to the Cal State application. There's a dates and deadlines link, and you can see what the date is for any of the schools that you're looking for. Information you will need, so you'll need to gather at some point to complete your application, is your unofficial transcript from any college you've attended. So sometimes students want to leave off a college because maybe that was so long ago, or they didn't do very well, or they just don't think it matters. No, any college, university you have attended, you need to report, and including AP scores if you passed any AP, because of course you want to get credit for that. So you just need an unofficial copy just so you can look at it and know what classes you took and to enter in. If you have a social security number, it is good to put it in because it'll just help with matching to your financial aid and everything. If you don't have one, the application will let you move on without it. Not a big deal. You'll need to know your citizenship status, and I will talk specifically about that just for our undocumented students, how you want to put that information in to make sure you still get California residency fee waiver, right? You don't want to pay out-of-state fees, you want to pay in-state fees. Annual income, so you'll need your parents' income if you're a dependent, and I'll go over what's the difference. And then only yourself if you're independent, or you and your spouse, right? If you're married. That is going to determine the fee waiver, so make sure that you don't put that in until you know for sure what those numbers are. And I'll talk again a little more specifically about that. A method of payment, if you're not going to get the fee waiver, or let's say you get the fee waiver, but you want to apply to 5 schools, right? You'll have to pay for one. So they'll take credit card or PayPal on the application. There is no like mailing a check anymore, nothing like that. And then if you're applying for the EOP program, which is just, I'll talk a little bit about that, but like our EOPS program, you will need your parents' employment background. It'll ask you a little bit more personal information to share. You'll have some little, short statements that you'll have to write, and you will need 2 recommenders. So it's good you guys are here starting early. You can think about who you want that to be. Ask them if they will be a recommender for you, and then make sure you get their name and email address, because you'll enter that into the application, and then it will send them a link for a form to fill out. And you do need at least one of those to be a school official. So one of your teachers, faculty members, a counselor. It could be even maybe you've gotten to know, our technician, Pam Story, for example, and you want her to be a recommender. It can just be anybody on our campus. You could technically have someone from high school too, but I would try to keep it more current. So I mentioned dependent versus independent and how you would have to report that income. So this is all federally regulated. So there's nothing that, like, if you're like, well, I don't talk to my parents, I don't know their income, they won't give it to me. Unfortunately, by federal guidelines, if you answer yes to any of the following, then you're considered an independent. Great, you can use your own stuff. If you can't say yes to any of this, no matter what, you'll have to report your parents' information. So it's got a date there because it's looking at 24. If you're over 24, by the time you start the CSU, you would be considered independent. If you're currently an active duty member or veteran, as of today, if you're married, have a legal dependents other than a spouse, so children, of course, or if you legally take care of somebody else, 50% or more. If you have ever been court-ordered emancipated minor, orphan or ward of the court in foster care, in a court-ordered legal guardianship, or if you are unaccompanied and homeless, or self-supporting and at risk of being homeless. If you say yes to any of that, then you only need to have your income for the purposes of both your FAFSA Dream Act and this application. If you can't say yes, then make sure that you can get your parents' information. I think I have a question. If we did our own taxes, would we apply as independent even though I was born after? No. So, I see what you're saying. No, so same thing goes, even if you're doing your own taxes, for the purpose of the federal government and financial aid, you still have to report your parents' information. It would be yours and your parents actually at that point. So that does not, as far as these guidelines go, it does not separate you and make you independent. So when you get into the application, Cal State Apply, the first homepage of it, you'll select, well, First of all, you have to create an account if you have not created an account. So you'll go to Cal State Apply, create that account. If you created one in high school, you certainly could use that one, but I'll tell you when we get to the page, which I think is next, not to bring over any prior information. So you'll select fall 26. This screenshot's a little old on here so that you're applying for the right term. And this is what I'm talking about. It will ask you the first time, do you want to copy and don't copy, start a new application. So if you've never done this before, probably want to do that, or you'll have to do that. Use data from a previous application. I don't recommend this at all, because even if it was just last year as a transfer student, when it copies it over, it locks some of the areas and it's frustrating. You can't change them. I think it's just an error in the system. So I just don't recommend that. Certainly if you already did it, no big deal. We can get around it. And then if you have been working on a CSU Transfer Planner account, I would recommend doing that one, because that's just going to pull over all of the information you've been loading into the Cal State Planner, the CSU Planner. If you are unsure, just start a new application. It won't hurt. You'll just have to re-enter everything. No big deal. So it will ask you that the first time. So this is what I was talking about. When you get to that home page, you'll create an account. If you've already created an account, obviously you'll just put your username and password. Please remember to write down or put in your phone, your notes in your phone, whatever, your username and password. I can't tell you how many times students will come in for their application review and then they don't even know their login, because I get it. You save it right on your computer at home. If you're bringing in your own computer, no big deal, but sometimes the Wi-Fi is a little crappy in our center. So sometimes we'll have you log in on our computer. So just make sure you have that noted somewhere, what that username and password is, because you're going to have to keep getting back into this account quite a bit. So just keep that in mind. It is recommended that you use your personal email, only because we just figure students don't check that Hancock email as often. And obviously it will go away at some point. But if you already created it with the Hancock email, no big deal. I think I just answered someone's question that they asked. So personal email is recommended. When you first get in, it's going to ask, what is your educational goal? So this is what I was talking about, where it could, if you were a lower division transfer, it will pick that up. You're all, I would imagine, going to be a first bachelor's degree seeking student. If you are on your second bachelor's degree, hopefully you've met with one of us, because there could be regulations, or there may be a lot of programs not open to you. So make sure you meet with a counselor. And then, which of the following best describes you? This is where it can get tricky for that ADT stuff, the associate degree for transfer. So if you are planning to earn the associate degree for transfer, one of the ones that Hancock has, then you would select that, and then it will ask you what school you're getting it at, and then it'll have, this is where you'll see the drop-down list of all the majors we offer. Again, if you don't see your major, then it's not something you're getting. And then if you are not getting an associate degree for transfer, then you'll say, I've attended or currently attending a community college, yada, yada, not part of the ADT, but I'm just transferring, like, and then when it has you select it, it'll actually, let me see if I have it on the next page. I don't think I have a screenshot of that. It will ask you, do you have 60 or more units or less than 60, right? That's when it would determine if you're lower division or upper division. If you're going to have 60 units by the end of spring, make sure you select that 60. Otherwise it could block programs, right? Or think you're not eligible. So that's what that one is. Oh, hold on. Is there something I missed here? No. When you first get in, it's going to make you add at least one program. So you can just pick whatever university you want to start, because remember, you can always take it away, delete it, add other ones. Up until you submit the application, you can make as many changes as you want. So it's going to make you pick one program. So you can go, let's say you're doing Cal Poly Sociology, select that, move on, come back later, and you can add other schools and majors if you want to. You will only see programs that are open at the time of application. For fall, everything should be open. I'd be very surprised if something wasn't open. It's usually like spring where there might be limited. And then, as I mentioned, you can go to that dates and deadlines page on the home page. It was hiding behind this slide. It's underneath here, dates and deadlines. You could click on that if you have any questions on what your deadlines are for the schools you're applying to. So like, for example, a lot of the online programs through extended campuses, or like a satellite campus, those usually have later deadlines, right? They might be up until the springtime or later. So then, like I said, you can always come back to the add program at any time. Do make sure you're looking at the source. As I just mentioned, some online programs are offered through extension, through their continuing education, So that could be higher tuition. It's not maybe necessarily the on-campus tuition. So just make sure you're looking at the source. And then those of you applying to any of our Cal Poly at Hancock programs, so right, we have two now. We have the business and the sociology. The location, see how they say online. So that means that they're, obviously online programs. You can see this one's offered through the main campus. So that means it's on the campus. Your Cal Poly programs for social and business, anybody applying into those at the Hancock campus, you'll see that it'll say like sociology at Allen Hancock College, and the location will show that. So you'll see the very different that you can apply to either or. And this year, for the first time, they're allowing you to apply to both. So before you could only apply to one campus, you could do the Hancock campus as your first choice, and then you could do the Cal Poly campus as your second choice if you wanted to. Not ag business, sorry. This program that's going to be at Hancock is just business administration, and it only has one concentration in human resources. So good question. Good question too. For one, it says Cal Poly and Cal Poly Maritime Academy. So remember that Cal Poly Maritime Academy, that's that one all the way up north. That's not at the SLO campus. Now they're combined, right? They're the same college. So if you do the Maritime, you're applying into the Maritime campus, which is up above the Bay Area, I believe. So good question. You guys have good questions already. Self-reporting the ADT. This is what I'm just reiterating. You would select community college program. It will, at some point, your colleges will ask you to verify in the spring. They'll say, we need your verification of your associate degree for transfer. Because remember, this is going to give you those added benefits, boosting your GPA, perks when you're applying. Hancock's admissions and records office will do the verification for you. There's nothing extra you need to do. The only thing you have to do is apply for a degree with one of us, right? So I recommend you do that January, February, just to make sure that that degree application is in. But I always work with admissions and records and cross-check that list to make sure everybody who's getting one is, going to have that degree on file. So we'll do that for you. So which would you choose for Cal Poly and SLO for business admin? If you're trying to go to the Cal Poly SLO campus, you would pick the Cal Poly SLO campus. I'll have to look at it because that's new. So I'll have to visually pull it up when we get done with this and see. This is just showing. So this is kind of your menu at the top, right? If those of you who are in there or already have been in, where this is where you can add program. You can always check the status of that associate degree for transfer. Honestly, by the springtime, you're probably hardly ever coming back to the Cal State application. You're working directly with your universities through their portals, but you can always come back and see if it's pending verification or if it has been verified. But like I said, we will make sure that happens for you. I mentioned earlier, if you put in an associate degree for transfer that you're getting one and you apply to a campus, let's say you apply to San Diego State and they don't have a similar program to our ADT, you'll see this pop up. Don't fret, it just means they don't align. If you think they should align, like you've looked it up and it should be, and that's why you're applying there, then, let's talk about it. If not, you say, fine, I'm okay with that. I know it doesn't align. I'm going to move on. So you will get this warning if it's a dissimilar program. Under citizenship and residency, so I mentioned if you are an AB 540 applicant, you will select your country of citizenship and then you'll select none. And then make sure that you claim California residency. That's so important because that's where your fees, right? You pay California fees right now, which is a lot cheaper than out of state. So you want to make sure you claim that residency, assuming you do meet all of that, which most of our students do. So just don't mess that up. Don't say no, thinking, oh, because I'm not a citizen. Still claim California residency to make sure that you're going to get that in-state tuition. If you mess up, it's something that can always be fixed later. It's just a little bit of a bump in the road. This is what your application dashboard will look like. So you'll work through each quadrant of the application. It's actually a really simple application. The majority of the work is going to be here in the academic history, entering all of your classes if you haven't done that already in the planner. Beyond that, it's a really simple application. And obviously, if you're applying to EOP, that'll have a little extra, but there are no personal statements to the Cal State application, no short answers for any of them. If you're applying to a special program where they maybe have like a supplemental application, like nursing, for example, or an audition like music or dance, now that's a different story. But here in the Cal State application, it's all pretty straightforward. So the coursework entry that I mentioned is going to be the bulk of what will probably take the most time. Enter all colleges and universities attended, like I mentioned before, even if you took one class or you withdrew from a class, as long as there is a record, you'll need to enter it. You will include international and non-accredited schools. That's maybe you went to like a cooking school that wasn't accredited. You still have to report it, but you don't have to enter any coursework if it's an international institution. But if you have any kind of transcript, even if it's weird, like grading, I know I've had some in the past that don't have like grades. It's more like pass or not, or it'll give like 4, 3, 2, 1 for grades. However it looks on the transcript, that's how you want to enter it. And then you let the Cal State decide how they're going to accept those units or not, or how they're going to apply them. All college coursework should be entered. So even if it's non-transferable, so let's say you took Algebra 1, Algebra 2 back in the day, maybe you took a welding class that was a non-transferable, so it's not populating in there, enter it anyway. Your coursework entry here should look identical to your transcript. The only thing you're going to leave off is non-credit. So if you had, or like the math lab, right? The writing lab, leave those off, but everything else you'll enter, you'll give it a space. When you're entering grades, really, really important, because this is different than the UC application. So if you're applying to UC, make sure you pay attention when we go to that workshop in a week or two. Repeats. So if you got an F or a D, and then later you repeated it, let's say you got an F or D your first semester, and then last spring you got an A. You're going to put RP in place of that first F or D, right? Grade. On your transcript, you'll know if it was excluded because it'll have a little E next to it, right? It'll show that it's excluded, and obviously you'll see that you retook the class and got a better grade. If you applied for and processed an academic renewal, you'll put AR in place of that. Because if you don't, right, it's going to count your D's and F's in your GPA. So those would be the only ones that you could have a repeat or an AR, D and F grades. Any withdrawals, so again, that should look identical to your transcript. So if you have a withdrawal, put a W. If you got a pass, no pass, put a pass. If you got a no pass, put an NP. It should look exactly like your transcript. Oh, if the only like situation where you would not put the RP or AR is if you haven't applied for the AR yet, obviously. And if you think that you might qualify or you want to see if you qualify for one of those, come see us right away. Remember, we have drop-ins every Tuesday, so you can always come in and see a counselor on Tuesdays all day long, because I know we're booked up. We can look and see if you qualify for that academic renewal, which is alleviating, right, a D or F grade for you without you having to repeat that exact course. So make sure you check. Sorry, checking. Okay. Oh, if you're currently repeating, let's say you didn't pass a class in the summer and you got a D or an F, and now you're retaking it, you will have to report that D or F grade. And then you'll show, of course, that you're in the class right now, because you will be putting in the classes you're in and then the classes you have planned for winter and or spring. And then in January, you'll log back in to do grade updates, and then you'll be able to show then that you now have repeated the course. So a reminder there on the bottom, do not forget. I have a lot of students come in and like, I have everything, and they didn't enter their future classes, right? So it's not showing 60 units, or it might be showing missing credits or classes. So make sure you put your winter and or spring classes, which is why it's so important to have a student education plan so you know what you should be taking in the next term. So if you have not met with a counselor to identify what you should be taking, make sure you schedule that appointment or come on one of those Tuesday drop-ins so that we can figure out what you need. A schedule of classes will be coming out on October 13th, so already going to be a week from this next Monday, where you'll be able to see winter and spring classes, and then registration will start at the end of this month. So it's coming quick. Make sure you know what you need to be taking. If you took college classes in high school, you will also, great, thank you for bringing that up, whoever sent that. You will start your dates of attendance for Hancock all the way back to the first time you took a college class. A lot of you, I know it was your freshman year, right? You took that Prod 301, which is not transferable, by the way, but you'll have to load that in there. So you will go all the way back to your dates of attendance at Hancock from the first term that you took a class. Enter anything you took, dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment, College Now, whatever you have done, you'll enter everything as it is on your transcript. Don't leave those off. Those are the college classes. AP, so here, this is where the college coursework will go. In this section, you'll add the college, Hancock, you'll add your coursework here. Standardized tests is where you're gonna add any AP, CLEP, or IB scores. You only need to add it if you've passed, so 3 or better for AP. If not, don't worry about it. If you don't know your AP ID, notice that it doesn't have a little asterisk, so you don't have to. Most people don't know that. No big deal. Not exactly sure of when because you'll say, yes, I took the exam. If you're not sure of the exact date, that's okay. I have students put May of the year they took it, because usually you guys take it in May. It doesn't have to be the exact date. If you have it on your transcript, you have your AP scores, obviously you can do that. So that's how you'll enter any AP. And if you took like AP English Lang or Lit and it's counting for your golden 4, it'll pull it in for you once you enter it there. When you're on that transcript page, when you're on the college coursework, there'll be this option to calculate your GPA. I do recommend hitting that little calculate button, so then you can see the GPA that the CSUs are thinking that you have, right? And it's all based on how you entered your classes, right? It's self-reported. So that's why you want to make sure it's accurate. And it's going to tell you how many credits, how many hours you have in there. And then quality points is just figuring out your GPA. You don't need to worry about that. But hours, right? That'll show you, are you at the 60 units, or will you be at the 60 units? So once you've entered all of your college, and you'll enter, if you've attended multiple colleges, I know a lot of our students now are doing California Virtual Campus, right? CVC classes. Make sure you enter those colleges as separate, right? If you're taking a class through Saddleback College, enter Saddleback College and the class you took there. Not how we gave you equivalency, it'll be what's on that transcript with them. So once you have all the coursework entered, you can do this little yes, save my transcript, and it'll lock it in. If you need to make changes, no big deal. You can always come back out and say, I need to edit. Remember, anything can be changed up until you hit that submit. The very first application that you submit, it locks it, and there's no more changing it. So make sure you have it reviewed before you hit the submit button. But all this, you can say, yeah, I'm done, save it, and then come back later if you need to. The general education, so this will be the next, once you're done entering all your coursework, it will pull in. Remember I told you have to have the golden 4 for any CSU campus. It'll pull it in usually for you. So if it hasn't, double check, and you can drop down menu and pull the class that it should be pulling in. If you took multiple math classes, it doesn't matter which one you put. It doesn't need to be the best grade. They just need to know that you meet one minimum math there. AP, if you entered it, like I said, for your English, or math, I guess you could have AP for any of these two. You wouldn't have it for oral comm or critical thinking. Then you'll be able to pull that AP in if it hasn't already. Opt out should be very, very rarely. Usually this may be maybe an engineering major, and it really depends on the campus you're applying to. More often than not, you still usually need all of these, but the critical thinking sometimes is one that you don't have to have for some campuses for engineering. Or lower division transfer. If you're a lower division transfer, remember I mentioned you only have to have 2 of these courses. So that's where you would do that little opt-out option. Otherwise, you should never be opting out. EOP. So I mentioned this earlier, or if you want to apply for this program at the Cal State campuses, then it's built into the application. You can say no if you're not planning on it. If you are planning on doing it, you can say yes, I'll come back later and fill it out. Essentially, it's a program just like our EOPS program here at Hancock. It is deemed for historically low income and educationally disadvantaged undergraduate students, which basically means you need to be the first in your family going to college. And then obviously it's income based. I don't think this is, actually, maybe I did pull this year's numbers. I don't remember, to be honest. This might be last year's, but it'll only be slightly different if it is last year's. So if you automatically look based on independent and dependent and you don't meet that income, I wouldn't even apply. Honestly, they're very strict about the income, but if you're under or at that or under, apply. It's a great program that it's going to offer you additional resources, services, maybe financial aid, tutoring, counselors, like everything that you would get in our EOPS program here and maybe more. So it's a great program. California residents and those who qualify for AB 540 are eligible to apply for that. And that's why they'll ask you those extra questions about your family history. So it is in this supporting information quadrant. So like I said, it'll say, do you want to apply? Yes or no. Or it'll ask if you're currently or you've ever been in an EOPS program. because if you are in our EOPS program, you will get the 4 fee waivers for free automatically. It'll ask you that, and then it'll let you either start filling it out now, or you can come back. The EOP deadlines are usually later. Okay, I do talk about it. They're usually later. So you can see most of the deadlines are January 15th, meaning you can submit your whole Cal State application and you can come back and work on that EOP part all the way up until January 15th. You'll notice Fresno is the only one that has a December 2nd deadline. I checked it, but double check because it could have changed. And then the EOP document deadline, right? So your recommenders, all of them are January 31st, except for UC Fresno has an earlier deadline. Usually only an option right now, like you have to apply during this process. Once you get to the campus as a transfer student, a lot of times they won't allow you to apply once you're there. So just keep that in mind. And then this I can show you, it's on the Cal State application is just the EOP dates by term. But I looked and I'm pretty sure Fresno was the only one that had that earlier. And then some of them just don't accept transfer students, but very few. If you're a veteran, there will be a section, you will have answered that question, right? Yes, I'm a veteran. And then you can upload a copy of your DD 214 transcript. There'll be a section where you can do that in the supporting information quadrant. And then if you're getting any kind of credit from military service or training, you will enter that in. If you need, I should say this, if you need it for the 60 units, which most veterans don't need it, and it's been approved, then you can enter it just like this. And so if you're a veteran and you come across this situation, we can always look individually at that. But most people don't need the 60 units, but if you are one that needs it, make sure we enter that in there. The fourth quadrant, that bottom right one, when you're looking at it, is campus specific, meaning it's only going to pull up and ask you questions based on the campuses you've added, right, to your application. So if, I'm trying to think of one that has a lot. I feel like Cal State LA, Fullerton, one of those. If they're cross-checking major prep, they may have you like reiterate the classes you've taken in your major in this section. A lot of them just ask, are you planning to live on or off campus? Some may ask if you're a part of special programs. If there's impaction, like I said, they may ask for prereqs. If they are asking for proof, like a document, unofficial transcript, sometimes it's just optional. But if there's nothing they're asking for, it'll automatically green check and you'll see like nothing's being asked of you for this section. If you add new colleges, right, it'll probably open this back up and say, okay, you have stuff you have to answer in that quadrant. I think I have an example. Yeah. So this is Cal Poly's. One of the Cal Poly's is just an example of what they had prior. Questions you have to answer. So they're asking some undergraduate questions. If I scroll down, there was more. And then maybe if you needed a recommendation for if it was a special program. This is super old, 2019. I don't think Poly has any of that. They'll have the questions. That's it. In the application, your name is over by like that sign out. If you need to make any changes, like let's say when you first applied, you thought you were, or you filled out the application, you thought you were getting an associate degree for transfer, you meet with your counselor and you find out, no, I'm not getting it. You can go to that extended profile and you can make any of those changes to the beginning part. I know that was a while ago at the very beginning, but you can make any changes in that extended profile. Again, once you submit, no changes can be made. So don't submit, do not submit until you have it reviewed. Or is that enough? And don't feel like you have to get this in right away. It does not matter if you submit it today or you submit it on December 1st, which again, I don't recommend. They're not looking at applications usually until everybody's applied, especially your impacted programs, your popular, programs. They're not even going to be looking at them until after that. So there is no first come, first serve. There's no like this, could fill up and they won't allow any more applicants. As long as you get it in by that December 1st deadline, they have to accept your application. So don't feel like you have to be in a rush. All right. At the end, you can go to the little submit application to see all the campuses that you're potentially looking at applying to. Here's where you can say, oh, you know what? I didn't get the fee waiver, so I'm only going to apply to 2 maybe. So you could delete, right? You could trash them from here. You can check I'll go into it, but check your fee waiver status. You can see if it's ready to submit. See, this one's green checked, but this is not blue, like it wouldn't let me submit. So something must be missing. You can check the deadlines, what's the deadlines for each of these programs. That's all on the submit application page. fee waiver. So like I said, as long as you entered your personal information and the financial history, you'll be able to, you'll see right away, it will say 0. If you have applications here, it'll say 0. You'll know you have it, but you can open this up to see, okay, am I eligible? Oh, showing I have 4 of 4. And as you submit, it'll tell you, I have 3 left, I have 2 left. If you're not eligible, it will say that, and then you can link to kind of see what's going on, or like read if you want to appeal, for example. I would recommend, if you think that you should qualify, make sure that you do it early, like the appeal process, because you'd have to appeal to the individual campus, and it can take a while. And it's not something where they can just say, submit and we'll refund you. No, they're going to give you some kind of code if that appeal goes through. Keep in mind, we will have some fee waivers for special circumstances, special situations. So if you are in a bind, you're financially can't do it, and you're not getting the fee waiver, or maybe you got the fee waiver, but you want to apply for one more and financially you can't do it, talk to a counselor and we can see about possibly getting you a fee waiver that we will have, but they are limited. Once the fee waiver is applied, or you pay your fees, right? This is what I was talking about. This is all in that submit application. You can click on that anytime. There's a whole bunch of steps you have to take to actually submit. So don't be afraid to click there, because you'll just see that page I was looking at. Then you'll submit, continue. The fee waiver will automatically show that you owe nothing. And then if you have to pay, you'll put in that payment method required at the time of your application submission. So make sure, if you need to do it right after payday, right, make sure you have the funds so you can pay and submit that application. No, you can use a debit card. Sorry, a debit card on here would work just like a credit card. I feel like those are one and the same these days. Oh yeah, if you are an EOPS student and you got deemed not eligible, go talk to them right away, because you should automatically, as an EOPS student, a current Hancock EOPS student, get 4 for free. So if it does not come through, talk to them, and they may have to just get you codes or something, or talk to the campuses. I already talked about the check status. This is where you can see your verification of your associate degree. You can also see all the programs. I recommend coming and checking this to make sure it says submitted, that this has gone through after you submit. I have had students think they submitted and then find out in January, when it was too late, that it never went through. So if you don't get a confirmation email, that is like red flag number 1, and you should be getting communications from your universities soon after you submit, but you can always come back here and check that. If you're applying for the EOP program, it'll also have status of your recommenders. So you'll be able to see if they have accepted and if they have submitted their recommendation. You would know if you're an EOPS student because you'd be in the program. It's a special program you have to apply to here at Hancock. Okay, after submitting, some reminders. Can't stress it enough, schedule that application review appointment. We will be having some drop-in sessions in November too, a little appetizer app review night. I recommend not waiting for that if you can at all help it, just because it'll be busy. But if you can't get an appointment, we will have that kind of last minute stuff going on. Check your email often, both communications coming from Hancock's Transfer Center, right? We're going to tell you when there's events coming up, or important, reminders. Maybe reps are coming to campus. Don't forget this deadline. And then, like I said, your universities will start to communicate with you. If you're applying to multiple, it can get overwhelming, right? You're going to be getting communications from all of them, and they're all going to have different things they want you to do, different deadlines. Some may say, send a transcript. Others will say, we don't want a transcript. So just really be checking that email, and then you'll create those portals for each campus. Most campuses now have you create a portal, just like your My Hancock portal. You'll have your Cal Poly portal. You'll have your Long Beach portal, your Sacramento portal. You'll be needing to check that frequently. I would say at least once a week, to see if any updates come through, if there's a to-do list, if they're asking you for any paperwork, transcripts, that kind of thing. So I recommend keeping a file. I know now everything's pretty digital, so even if it's just in your email, create a folder, transfer file, drop all emails into that folder as they come through from your university. So if you come in and you have a question for us about an email you got, you can pull it up easily, right, and find it. You will also have to create different usernames and passwords for each university. They're all going to have different guidelines. Write those down, put them in your phone, whatever it may be, because I promise you, you're going to have to be using them over and over to get back into those portals. Keep a copy of any correspondence. That's easy now because everything's like email, right? And make sure you know dates and deadlines. As I mentioned, some campuses will ask you potentially to send transcripts. There'll be deadlines starting in early January for some of them, right? We're not all back by then. So make sure you're checking your email and you know when they're due. Some campuses won't ask for transcripts, right? Some will wait until you've been admitted. Some will have supplemental applications, a separate one you have to do. Long Beach, for example, does for all their majors. You will get emailed information on how to access that and create that account. We will have next steps workshops in January where we'll help with updating your grades because you'll have to log back in, right? Update your grades in Cal State Apply and doing any of those supplemental applications. So those dates will always be posted by the end of this semester on our website. Save the date. 2 really important workshops that are going to be coming up this semester, and we will repeat them again in the spring. Financial aid at the university. So we're talking, what the aid looks like at the university. I recommend this even more so in the spring because by then you'll hopefully be seeing your financial aid that's come through, right? Because you're also going to apply for FAFSA. It opened today, and DREAM Act. You can apply starting now through early March as priority. Add all of your universities, right, to that application. So when you get admitted, you'll be able to see what financial aid is being offered to you. This workshop will help you make sense of that, right? And learn about the different types of aid. Show me the scholarships. I can't stress this one enough. I would try to get to this one for sure this semester because Hancock Scholarship will open in November. And you'll learn a ton about how to look for scholarships, what to do when applying for scholarships. And now is the time, right, to get that free money. So make sure you attend those ones if you can. And then again, we'll repeat them in the spring. The university fair is coming up at the end of this month, the last Tuesday of this month, 10:30 to 1 out in the Commons. That's when a bunch of different universities will be here on our campus where you can walk around, right? Gather information, ask them questions. There'll be actually some workshops on that day as well. So save those dates for sure. Follow us on social media. We're pretty heavy on Instagram. Jen does a great job of keeping everybody updated with things going on. So if you are not following that, I highly recommend following that Instagram account. I want to quickly, before I take any questions, show you guys a couple things on our website. There we go. Everybody should be planning, so you can get here really easily. Services and Support, University Transfer Center. Fall admissions step by step. When in doubt, check this each month. Give it a check. This will tell you exactly what you should be doing each month. So we're in October, right? Boom, right there. Attend a workshop. You're here. You found us. Go right to the applications. Tells you the due date. The university fair that I just talked about. Reminder, it's going to be this month. Schedule that app review appointment. You'll see that repeated again because if you haven't done it by November, schedule that app review appointment. The Hancock Foundation Scholarship opens in November. We're going to remind you every month. You're going to have reminders all the way through getting admitted to your campuses. When in doubt, check this list. This will help keep you on track. In my presentation, I talked about a couple links and I want to show them here under the Cal State area. There's a wide wealth of information here, but most importantly, if you scroll all the way down, you can get to, well, first of all, you can get to the application from here really easily. And then I talked about these two, the associate degrees for transfer. That's that matching website, right? So you can look and see, is my major a part of this? And does Hancock offer the degree? And then does it match with the university I'm looking at? So I'll just show you a really quick demo. So you would put in whatever major. So I'm just going to use AJ. It's at the top from Allen Hancock College. And then you can put in as many universities as you want, right? However many you want to put here. And then when you submit, it's going to produce a list of our associate degree for transfer that is equivalent to that program. So had I put in Cal Poly SLO, for example, it wouldn't show up because they don't have AJ, first of all. But it could just be a campus doesn't accept it. So if I know, if I have the ADT in Administration of Justice, I'm going to get that, and I apply to Fresno or Pomona under any of these majors, I'm going to get the benefits and perks that go with it. And it's aligned, right? So make sure when I get there, they have to make sure I graduate in no more than 60 units once I get there. Impacted majors, that was the other one that I had mentioned. This is just if you wanted to see if you're applying to an impacted program or campus. So you can search by these 5 campuses are impacted across the board, meaning they're already going to be looking for a little bit of higher standards, whether that's GPA or major prep. It's just a little more competitive. But if you want to see if your major, let's say at Pomona, as an upper division transfer, remember that's what you guys are, transfer students, these are all the impacted majors there, not every major. If you see your major and you're applying there, that just is red flag. Okay, I need to look and see, is there anything additional they want from me as a transfer student? So this is that impacted majors list. Really quickly, since I saw it here, cost of attendance. That's another really good tool and link to go to where you can start looking at financial aid, what's it going to cost to go there, what's the housing looking like, and then every one of the CSU campuses will have a cost estimator or cost calculator on their financial aid website where you can even just put in your income and kind of get an idea of your status, independent, dependent, right, of what kind of financial aid might be offered to you at that campus. Remember, it's just preliminary, it's not for sure, but it's a good way to at least just start and see. And then really quickly, you guys all probably already know about it because you're here, but our workshops and events are listed here and our road trips are listed here. So definitely sign up for the road trips if you're wanting to go on any of those trips this semester. Remember, we'll have new places that we have scheduled for springtime. So check it very early on in spring. And then under the workshops and events, you'll find a lot of different university reps scheduling one-on-one appointments, either virtually or in person on our campus. So you can see Fresno State has times. You guys are here at the workshop. We have the next one Monday in person. UC, we already have next Tuesday. And our first one is virtual just because we record it, and then you'll have in person after that. But you can schedule with different reps. And then of course our fair and any events are going to be here on our website. So really utilize our website during this time as well. Can we apply? The Transfer Center is not an application. We are free for all. So we are an open access. So you can come to the Transfer Center in Building A upstairs anytime that we're open. We are open till 6 Monday and Tuesdays. We have drop-ins all day on Tuesdays, pretty much 8:30 to 5 most Tuesdays. Obviously, you can schedule an appointment with us. You can do that through your portal or through our website, but there's nothing you have to apply to. Transfer Center is open access to everybody. So I'm getting the question, this is a good question to answer for everybody. Can you get a copy of your transcripts from admissions? No, they won't give it to you, but we will. So if you go into the Transfer Center, we can print a copy for you. Those of you on right now, if you really want it now, which also you can access a copy of your transcript in your My Hancock portal too. You just go to view unofficial transcript under the transcript area. You can view it right there. But if you want a copy from us, you can come in, we can print it for you. If you have classes from other campuses, yes, if they're transferable, right, then they'll count and they'll calculate into your overall transfer GPA. So when you fill out the Cal State application, you'll put them in there, right? And then there was that little calculate my GPA button, and you can see what the GPA is. You can also come in anytime on a drop-in or appointment, and we can help you calculate your GPA as well. Good question. If it's the transferable course, it will all count towards your transfer GPA. Definitely stop by and get your applications reviewed. Good luck to everybody. This is going to be an amazing time. It's a little stressful, but we are here to help in any way. We will take you through the entire process if you want us there along the way. And then make sure everybody is in the spring letting us know where you've been admitted, because we'll have that celebration that I was talking about, that transfer celebration.